Evening, everybody. As you'll be aware from emails, the chair is incapacitated, and as you'll be aware from the agenda, the vice chair has resigned from the council. So, in accordance with our standing orders, the first item of business is to elect a chairman for this meeting only. So it's just for this meeting. Once elected, that member will take over proceedings. So, do I have nominations for a member to chair this meeting?
Councillor Holmes.
I'll have Councillor Wilson.
Any seconds?
I'll second the council.
Yep. Okay. Any other?
Seconded.
I mean, yeah, we seconded Councillor Holmes. Any other nominations? That's it? Okay, well, we can go for a straight vote then. So the first nomination was for Councillor Holmes. All those in favour of Councillor Holmes chairing this meeting?
We've got 13 total.
What?
So you don't have a vote.
Well, yeah, all those in favour of Councillor Wilson going to chair this meeting? 3. Okay. Councillor Holmes, you will be chair of this meeting.
Thank you. Thank you. I should say thank you.
I have printed it off for you just in case.
Okay, thank you. Have to be strong to sit in here then. Okay, well it is obviously exceptional circumstances in which I'm chairing it this evening, so it is, I think you've probably heard that Pat's actually in hospital, so that she's had a serious fall, so I think before we actually get onto the agenda, I do think it would be good to send, on behalf of the council, to send Pat our best wishes.
Sure.
To do that? Yes. Obviously it wasn't something I was expecting to do this evening, so I'm not something I'm not used to doing, but I will endeavour to do it to the best of my ability. Though we have a long agenda, so I will try and do it as efficiently as possible, but still ensuring that everybody gets an opportunity to speak. So I will try to be very observant and notice the order in which people raise their hands. But I'm wondering if it's possible, can I have somebody to be my second eyes here? Is that legitimate? Or are you going to be, because there's usually somebody here. So.
I can try. I'm not sure about having a spotter.
A spotter.
I'm not sure if that's the thing. No, you know.
The vice does tend to do that.
The vice, but there is no vice.
Yeah, I know.
So that's why I'm wondering if, I mean, you could be the vice for this evening, seeing as you were the second person elected.
It seems slightly odd. Let's
Okay.
just do it. Let's just do it as
Let's do it. Okay. Well, if I'm missing anybody, please point it out.
Well, there's people that, you know, people just need to be, raise your hands all out.
Clearly. So that I can notice you. So, yeah, on with the agenda then. So, first item is public question time, and there is no member of the public here. So, on to the next item of the agenda, the chair to check if anybody else wishes to record the meeting. Presumably it's already set up there for you to set it up. And Lawrence, you would like to chair the meeting?
Yeah, I've got 2 devices with me.
Okay, and everybody's happy with that? Yes? Okay. And then we move straight on to accept apologies for absence.
You'll have seen we had apologies from Councillor Collins, obviously, and Councillor Kirkby and Councillor Lyles.
And we accept those reasons for apologies? Yes? Okay. So then we move straight on to receive member officers' personal and disclosable pecuniary interests that are on the agenda.
Can I just give people some reminders for this item, if that's okay, Chair?
Of course.
First of all, if a member has listed in their written declaration as a pecuniary or other interest in organisation or body which features in the agenda, then this should be declared by the member. Secondly, if a member has a pecuniary or other interest that's not listed in their written declaration in an organisation or body which features in the agenda, then this should be declared. Third point, the onus is on individual members to make declarations appropriately. And just a reminder as well that failure to declare may constitute a breach of the Code of Conduct and be reported to the monitoring officer by your fellow members or members of the public if they are present.
Okay, this sounds a very serious warning, so has anybody anything further they wish to declare? Yes, Councillor.
Well, I represent this council on Home Valley Climate Action Partnership, so I'm asking for guidance on
You've got
where I
written,
stand.
you've got a written dispensation,
Yeah.
councillor, so that's fine.
Thank you.
Councillor Morgan?
Same, but for Honley Library.
Also a written dispensation.
Yes. And the same for you for
For the civic.
for the civic. Is that everything? Oh,
And I've got Moses Crook as my stepson, then Councillor Crook.
so everything's satisfied that everything's been declared that it should have been declared? Thank you. To consider written requests for new DPI dispensations that they've been covered with in the previous item, have they?
Yes, just to say that all bar Councillor Ryler are members of the Service Provision Committee and therefore have seen the revised DPI of Councillor Harry Davis, and I emailed out the revised DPI to Councillor Ryler earlier on this afternoon. So that's just a note.
Thank you. And next item is whether any items should be discussed in private. Because you sent out the things from the civic and the Honley Library to be looked at in private, is there anything that should be discussed in private? Anybody feel that it should be discussed in private? The civic and Honley Library? Or any other item? No? Okay. Okay, then the next item is to confirm the minutes of the previous committee meeting. And I noticed that you've raised a couple of points in regard to that. Yes?
Yeah, but I mean, they're not, the points are not about the accuracy of the notes, they
Yeah.
are kind of things, so you need
We need
to
to
approve
approve it, so
the notes. The minutes.
Everybody or who approves the meeting, the minutes of the last meeting? Yes? Okay. Okay, and then, do you want to talk about these items, or do you
Yeah,
want
yeah,
to?
I certainly can, I mean, they are kind of
explicit?
self-explanatory, but there's certainly no harm in doing so. Yeah, as you'll be, as people who are on the bank mandates will know, I had to delay paying the awards that we made in the September, the September grants meeting, because we just, A, we didn't have enough money in our current account, and B, it would have left us with far too low levels of general reserve. So I had to delay it until, I think it came in on November the 2nd, something like that. So that will happen then. We've now got lots of reserves, and we now have lots in our current account, but for that month it gets a bit sticky, as comes up later in the agenda.
Can I just ask if it would be possible to tie when you give the grant, when we award the grants, to tie in with when the precept arrives?
That is something, I mean, the trouble is, it would be this meeting that does it, and obviously this meeting does the budget, so it's slightly messy. I mean, we could have one in early November.
Oh, I see.
It would mean there was it was only a month between that meeting and this meeting, you see, so it was quite crammed together. That's the
Okay,
problem.
Councillor
So
Richard.
rather than move the date that we look at the grants, could we just not move the date that we pay?
Well, that's what we did, obviously. Yeah.
Be upfront about it and tell them.
Well,
Yes.
that's what happened. Yeah, I mean, I had to tell them.
Yeah, but up front. And sort of
Oh, you mean
say-
even when
Yeah.
even when they're applying
Right,
for
it's
the
say
grants,
that
just
these
say,
will only be
Yeah,
awarded.
won't be made until November,
Yeah.
despite the fact that we approve it in September.
yeah. I mean, it's slightly awkward because there's some who kind of need it, and I certainly had to. I mean, it wasn't in the end. It wasn't a grant, but the two gifts that we paid, I had to do them immediately, virtually, because it was dependent on ongoing negotiations that the actual applicant was having. So they were paid in October.
Yeah.
I think perhaps it's just playing it a bit by ear.
Okay.
Can I just ask a question as well about the reserves and the minimum reserves? Basically, as I understand it, we're talking about a 3-month period that the reserves need to cover. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So we tend, I think you're looking at it in terms of month by month, but actually if you look at any 3-month period, we're always safe. In other words, we would never call upon all of that money in a single month.
No, of course, yeah, of course. But there are times, like, you know, if, as I've said in the latest report, if I had paid those grants in October, we would have been very, very low. We'd have been too low. So, you know,
I think I'm just questioning what too low means.
what it means is if Kirklees had not come up with the precept in November, that we would have only had two months worth of money to fund the running of the parish council. And there was a time a couple of years ago when we only had 7%, so we'd have only got, you know, it would have been problematic. Now, I mean, you can all look around and say, well, it's very unlikely that Kirklees will not pay the precept, but it's, but A, it's not impossible, and B, our advice is that regardless of that, we've got to do it. So, you know, I do take your point, but you know, it's my job to make sure that we are safe, I suppose, and that's what the recommendation
Following the
says.
rules, Councillor Whitelaw?
I think you probably covered what I was going to say. It's about the risk attached to the precept being paid on time or being delayed
Yeah.
or whatever, and the guidance that says make sure you've got enough to cover that risk eventuality.
Mm.
So you sort of sit between a rock and a hard place, really, I think. But if there has never been a time where, there's no point in saying this, is there?
No.
Because
I
there
mean,
can always be
There can always be
My angle on it, I mean, what the advice says is you've got to have between 3 months and 12 months, and that's where I think we should always be.
Yeah.
All the time we should be between those. We're never near 100%, and sometimes
quite high.
twice exactly. But twice a year we are often very low.
Okay.
It's
Okay, it
simple
seems
for that.
expedient. So.
Nobody's ever queried this with us, I might add. I mean, our auditors have not pulled us about it. It's just something I'm
You've
kind
been
of
super
conscious of.
cautious about
Well,
it. Yeah.
that's what the job tells me I've got to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Okay, we're happy with that. To move on to the next one, I think is good news.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so I think the VAT thing went very well. This where we gifted these 2 items to these applicants for grants, Upperthorne Village Hall and the Cricket Club. They were both very helpful. They were already in negotiations with is it Earnshaws and bizarrely Rentokil did the steps. But they did most of the negotiations. I didn't really have an awful lot to, you know, I was involved in email exchanges with Rentokil and with Earnshaws, but it was easy going. The applicants, the grant winners, were keen for us to save money. That was something that was important to them. So I think that went well. As you have read, I did call all the other ones where there was some potential, and most of them were problematic in one way or another. And I kind of, in some, I just made a decision that it would have been too kind of onerous, really. There was one where it would have messed up their relationship with their supplier, essentially. So I kind of left that one. And then the heat pump, as I understand, you don't pay VAT on that. I wasn't sure about that, but that seems to be the case. And then the sailing club, I mean, they sent me a long list of things that I could, but it would have just been, you know, me paying for washers and toilet seats and stuff like that, and it just seemed a bit of a waste of time.
Well, I think it's great that we've saved £823, and
Yeah,
that's,
yeah, I
it was
think
great
that's-
that was
that's good.
introduced
That's good.
by, I don't know if I remember, I think it's Councillor Lyles who said we could do this, but I think it's brilliant that that's been followed through and has happened. Councillor Whiteland?
It seems to me, Rich, that this is really case by case.
Absolutely, yeah, that's absolutely right, because there was potentially a problem with the Rentokil Steps situation, because they sent us the guarantee, for example. This is the problem: if something goes wrong,
Okay.
we paid for it, and they were a bit kind of like, well, you paid for it, but it's not yours. And I was having to basically encourage them to identify the village hall as the owners, and we were just happened to be like a middleman who paid for it. So it was slightly messy in that sort of sense. So like Councillor Whitehall says, there may come a time when something goes wrong like that, and we just have to play it at that moment
Okay.
and see what we can do about it.
Yeah, and the next one links to that as well, really, that what is no longer legal to claim for the garages and the vans. So
Sorry about the
that's-
misleading
Yeah.
you on this. It was the case that until, I mean, it's not even that recent, if I'm being truthful with you. It was like 2015, I think, that this thing changed. So now they're both considered the same. They're both vatable.
Okay.
So as you'll know, there's an agenda item about
There
it
is,
later
yeah,
on.
so we'll deal with that later. So next item 71 is to note the resignation of Councillor Barnett from this committee and from the position of vice chair. So we now do have to elect a vice chair. So any nominations for election of vice chair?
I'd like to nominate Councillor Holmes.
Thank you. Councillor Whitehall.
Second that.
Thank you.
I'll
Any?
nominate Councillor Wilson.
I'll do
Okay.
it. I'll say that.
Yes,
Okay, so a seconder for Councillor Wilson?
yes,
Yes,
Councillor
that's
Davies.
right, that's been done with, okay. Can I have the votes for Councillor Holmes, please?
Better not be different.
No? Yeah, no?
Thank you. And then votes for Councillor Wilson, so following correct procedure. Thank you. Okay, so as vice chair, I'm now the chair of this meeting. It simplified it, didn't it? Okay, grant evaluations, to note new grant evaluations. There was one from Home Valley Climate Action, Holmfirth Music Festival, Cartmouth Moor Cricket Club, Holmfirth Children's Book Festival, and Holmfirth Harriers. And I thought they were all excellent. I was just really delighted to see how detailed those evaluations were and what fantastic photos there were. Councillor Bailey?
I'd agree with what you just said, and actually, and this is obviously with a thought to a motion that we know is coming later from Councillor Wilson regarding the option B budget and so on, and the reduction in the grants budget. I was just pulling out a couple of bits from those evaluations, which I thought we should note. One was that the Holmfirth Musical Festival, it was fantastic. It resumed the local event that had sort of, ceased to exist for a short time. I think it also generated around £1,500 hall hire income for the Civic. Cartmouth Moor Cricket Club and also Holmfirth Harriers support for a local sports facility and environmental benefits from the solar panel installations on the roofs. And I particularly wanted to pick out the Children's Book Festival. If you don't mind, I'll just quote from that. We were kindly allocated £1,000 by the Parish Council towards the cost of website design, with the total overall cost being £1,100, so it was almost all of that. This helped us significantly to get the message out to people about the festival, particularly in its first year. We had a total of 1,609 visitors to the website between July and September, when the tickets were being actively promoted. We're very grateful to the Parish Council for the support for this project, and want to acknowledge how many parish councils took time to pop in to wish us well or to ask how the event had gone. We really appreciate the support for the project, and I thought it was important just to acknowledge that and the value of our grants
as an important thing that we do.
Absolutely.
I want us to remember this when we get to the last item on the agenda, which says what do we want publicity for, and I think all those grants are worthy of publicity, and you know, to let the public know just what this council can achieve through its grants programme. So remember that when we get to the end. Councillor Bracken.
Yeah, sorry, sorry to introduce a slightly less positive note really, which is, it's slightly concerning, I think. There was sort of some grant evaluation funds outstanding from 2024. I wonder, is there a routine
I mean, some of them will be purely because, you know, some of them have very long-standing plans, so that there's certain ones that haven't been finished yet, I suppose, so they you know, they would be supplying interim, they do supply interim ones, it's sort of finalised ones. There's others just haven't done it. So I you know, I regularly hassle them, but yeah, there's, you know, I mean, the sad thing is that the only thing that really triggers them is when I say, well, you can't apply again. That's a big deal to get them to do the thing, but
presumably we don't say, sorry if this, we don't say you're blacklisted because you haven't done it. Not in so many words.
we do that, no, we do.
It is one of the criteria that they've had a previous grant. They must sit.
We wouldn't use the word blacklisted.
Yeah.
That would be.
We must still encourage them.
Yeah.
It is one of the criteria that, but I think there is some instances with the groups that we give to though, that they are quite small organisations and they may only have an annual event and they're looking for money for that annual event.
Case in point, you know, Homeforth Harriers.
Yes.
We got the grant application to them. They haven't submitted their evaluation, so we had to. Okay, you got in contact with them first, didn't you?
Yeah.
So they needed a bit of prompting to get
Yes.
that back to us.
Yeah.
Just in the last couple of weeks. I think we got it last week, didn't we?
Did you get the evaluation before or after they put in their new request?
After.
So, right, okay. Well, this is a case in point then, isn't it? So, and that is the next item on the agenda. So, I think Councillor Backer, you've read the fact that you do some regular chasing up of those that haven't. And then consider a grant application from Homeforth Harriers, which, as was already been pointed out, they were very slow to send an evaluation, but I presume everybody has read their application. Any comments on it?
Can I just apologise because they did send this directly to me in early September and I missed it, which is why it didn't end up being considered. So
yeah, I did want to ask the reason why, but these things do disappear, and I think if we think it's an excellent application and meets our criteria, are we willing to consider it now? Any reason not to consider it? Councillor Whitelaw?
I do think there's a question about how strict one is concerning your criteria, and if one of them is that if you haven't submitted your evaluation according to them, then you are debarring yourself from a next application. But if we're not going to be precise and rigorous about that, for want of a better description, then fine, I would take it out of the criteria, to be honest. That's just my personal opinion.
Any other thoughts on that? Councillor Green?
I would say it depends on how you define not submitted, because clearly they have now submitted something.
Yes.
I think part of the problem, if I might jump in, is that the person who submitted the last one is different to the person who submitted this one, and perhaps the joined upness of it all is not quite there.
Do you think it's reasonable to sorry, I'll take your point first, Councillor Osborne.
I mean, I would have thought a sensible condition was that we cannot consider an application until you can submit it,
yes,
but we won't consider it until the evaluation of any previous grant has been received.
yes, and that has happened.
Rather than saying you can't submit.
Yes, yes, okay. So we can consider it. So if we're looking at it, what are people's thoughts on the application? Sorry,
Just
Councillor.
before I there, could I just clarify?
Yes.
Is this our mistake that we didn't see it in time?
Yes,
Yes.
So it's not their fault?
yes,
Right,
exactly,
okay.
yes, yes.
So there is a reason to
There is
see
a
it
good
out
reason.
of...
So out of sequence, there is a good reason to see it. So now we need to look at it on its merits as to whether we think it is something that we want to. I'll go with Councillor Blacker first.
I mean, I think we should agree to this, because I think it meets our criteria around climate change, I think, around climate change, because it's about being more efficient heating and servicing their premises.
Yeah, and they do reach out to a large number of people as well. Councillor Wilson?
Yeah, those points exactly.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
And, you know, the total cost is 25k. They're only asking for 5k of that,
Yes.
so they're clearly sourcing funds from elsewhere as well.
Yeah, apply to awards for all, what's in the application?
Councillor Whitehall?
I'm not arguing against this particular case. I'm making a point about process and protocol. And I do think that there should be things about mitigating circumstances. So, for example, if there is a change in personnel, that,
Yes, I
to
think
my
that's worth
mind, can be
noting.
mitigating
Absolutely,
circumstances.
absolutely. Yeah.
That's all.
Is there anybody who feels that we shouldn't be supporting this application? So we've had very positive reasons for supporting this application. Yes?
Councillor Ross, for
In
instance.
that case, I'd like to propose we accept it.
Accepted, good, yes. Okay, can we vote to accept it?
Second,
Oh, sorry,
second.
second, yes. And then everybody vote to accept?
Yeah, great.
Great. And then the grants working group, there should have been a report from Pat, who was the chair of that group. And I just wondered if Councillor Blacker, Councillor Wilson or Councillor White, other people on that group, do you want to report on the working group?
I've slept since then.
Okay,
I think we're still another meeting to have, aren't we? To wrap it
Yes.
all up.
Yeah, it's not.
we're nearly there with finalising it, because I'm on that working group as well, but we are very close to having some, I think, really key and important criteria for how we assess grants, and we should make sure when we're assessing grants. One really positive thing is that we felt that we should have in the application form for the applicant to recognise the criteria that they were matching and how it fitted in with the council's priorities. So they, you know, they are aware of that, and there'll be some self-selection in that. Councillor Blacker?
I do think over the last few years we have improved the grants process enormously. I mean, a lot of work has gone into deciding exactly what the criteria are and pursuing things and trying. I mean, it will never be. There's always going to be judgment involved. You know, it's never going to be exact. But I think we do now have a process and set criteria which I think certainly fit for purpose.
Councillor Whitehall?
Yeah, I'd like to back up what Councillor Blacker's just said really, because for me this is about minimising absolutely subjectivity and making it as objective as is absolutely possible. So you nail down criteria and you match it up.
Great. Next item is chair's expenses, and I think we simply have to note that £180 has been spent from this budget. And then we go on to schedule of payments. Again, there are quite a lot of things that we have to note. Do you want to
Yeah, I
talk
mean,
us through this?
yeah, normally in the you know the one for the month ahead, I have to get them approved by you, but they're all authorised by other means this time, so they are just all to note. I don't know if anybody has any questions about any of the specific payments.
Any questions? No? No? I do notice it says the chair must initial those. Does that
Yeah, that's
be me
me.
in this instance?
Yeah.
Shall I do that at the end?
Yeah, do it at the end.
Thank you.
There'll be a few things you've got to do.
Okay. And moving on to financial statements, again, things to note. Anything you want
Yeah,
to
well, I just want to
aware of?
point out one error. So, point 6 of the September 2025 financial statements should not say it was not for submission, it was for submission. The submission was £3,614.84, which we got in October.
Okay,
So that's just an error
okay,
when I was writing the agenda.
okay, thank you for that.
But yeah, I don't have an awful lot to say about that. I'll say more about the actual budget and the earmark reserves when, you know, in a couple of agenda points down.
Okay, so that's true, we just noted September and October, and then we're considering, what are we considering here? The committee must approve bank reconciliation, cross-reference with bank statements, and this must be minuted. So can we minute that? Can we do it?
We need to ask them first.
We have to say, does this committee approve the bank reconciliations?
Yeah.
Do we approve them?
I'll move that.
We move to approve
I
them?
have actually looked at them, I am a bit sad.
We looked at them, but.
But they are all right.
obviously sad, yes.
Okay, we can approve them,
Okay.
okay?
So again, they will need to be, would two councillors on a bank mandate mind staying on? Do you mind staying on? Do you mind staying on?
Fine.
No, we need two.
Yeah,
Has anybody else?
yeah.
Okay, it won't take more than about 5 minutes.
Fine.
Thank you.
Okay. And then we go on to September and October, are we okay with that? Anything you want to?
No, I mean, I've added there what the things that are of relevance,
Yeah.
obviously I mean, one of the other things about grants that has been interesting this year is how much we've got back from
Understand,
underspends on, you know, it's
it's good.
well, it's in the £7,000–8,000 worth. Admittedly, a lot of that was the HB Cap 5, but even without that, we're talking like 3,000. It's not to be sneezed at. So that's pretty positive.
So it's good that we monitor that and make sure we do it well, that's great.
And then you're aware that the Gartside building, that will be down the income on that. Because the tenant as well.
Expenditure side, I think that's all fairly obvious, isn't it? If everybody, I presume everybody has read this and I think consider any further actions on income and expenditure against budget?
I don't think so.
No? Okay, we move on to earmark reserve. Consider any further actions on earmark reserves.
I mean, I need to do, as I've said there, that when I printed this off, I haven't closed the community assets earmark reserve yet, but I'll do that in time for the next meeting.
Okay, we're all happy with that? And then we move on to the civic home faith. And there is a separate article on that. I was quite surprised at the title of that. Can you make something of this? And so I'm asking, can we make something of this? Did we find it useful? I mean, Councillor Wilson, as a trustee, do you want to say more about this?
Yeah, just one or two things. Excuse me, my voice is going. We should have had a trustee meeting this week, but it's been delayed, so that's a bit unfortunate. Otherwise, I might have been able to give a bit more detail. But I think some positive things came out of it. Firstly, financially, the forecast for the year end is about £3,157 surplus, and that's up from the answer of £51.55.
Yeah.
So it's good news.
Yeah.
Got to say the margin for error is still pretty tight. We're certainly with no scope for additional expenditure, but nevertheless, it's good news.
Yeah.
Couple of three general things. Charlotte's replacements now started. That's Michelle, for those that perhaps haven't met her. And she's finding her feet, and no doubt she'll be contributing a lot in the future. Emergency lighting, I think pretty well done. And Dawn said it's actually been tested in anger this week when we had the power cut.
Great.
And the first year's worth of repairs that of course we fund ongoing. I'm told that the inspection of the Gill Hall roof has actually gone quite well. There's no rotten beams or anything, so again, that's good news.
Yeah, I was in the office when they got that news actually, and they were very delighted that they poked through the false ceiling and were very, very delighted to think that. Yeah. Well, they might find asbestos and dead bodies and whatever, but anyway, it just seemed that it was So that is good news.
So
Can I just ask, Andy, are there photos inside there? Is put anything up there that takes, because, you know, considering that we're talking about the potential for opening it up, do we know?
There were some originally when they first did their condition assessment. I haven't seen any since, whether we've taken any this time, I don't know. Yeah, I would hope they have. I would hope they have done. I can ask.
Because it's partly about the aesthetics of it as well as the, you know, the state of it.
Yeah.
Anything further, Councillor Winston?
No, that's it, thanks.
Okay. I mean, it just, we have to consider any further actions with regard to the parish council's engagement with the Civic and Holmfirth Civic Hall Community Trust. I'm just going to say that I am going to put a motion into full council on the 15th of December to say that I'm absolutely delighted that we're getting an architectural report back. But that, well, I'd already looked at the agreement that we had with the architects, and they did say quite specifically that we should have established a vision working group. And so I really do want us to make sure that that group and that partnership with the trust and the parish council is firmly established so that we can move forward. So that's my contribution, that I want that to be considered at full council, because I do think we do need to be moving forward. I'm really delighted that the economics and financial situation is looking better, but I do think it is time that we have a responsibility to move for the building and improving the state of the building. So I do want that to be considered at full council. Councillor Bellamy.
Yeah, just on Civic Holmfirth, I think you'll all be aware now that we're getting somewhere with the lease. The side letter is done. Yay! And the solicitor is going to come to the next full council meeting and explain the difference between the leases, and if you've got any questions, she'll be able to answer them for you, rather than putting me on the spot of answering.
Is that on the 15th of December?
Questions. It is.
So on the 15th of December.
We are hoping that we can bring the Civic, that part of the meeting, to the very beginning, so she can go, because she might have to.
That's
She
great.
might have to bring a daughter with her, so
That's good. Yes. Yeah. Any other considerations for Civic? No? Okay. So item 78 is to note the reports from Friends of Conley Library. I was very impressed with their report. I mean, it is so, to have the comparison between the two is just phenomenal. I mean, it is just so, when we had the big community celebration, I did ask the trustees from the Civic to talk to the Conley Library, because I think they've a lot that they could learn from how the Conley Library manage their volunteers and how they moving forward with such an exciting agenda. I think it's brilliant what they're doing. Yeah. Any comments on what the library's doing? Yeah, Alison, Councillor Morgan, you're our Conley
It's
Library.
very efficient and very, what's the word? They're quite go-getting. They've always got projects lined up.
Yes, yeah.
And a countdown last week.
And they do note that, again, the thing from the land charity is quite exciting, that, where is it, they do say, we're, very recently a potential grant offer has been made by Home Valley Land Charity, which when added to existing funds may be sufficient to enable the Friends of Conley Library to achieve the proposed extension, which I think that's fantastic, that the land charity have moved forward very effectively to ensure that the Conley Library can have money to develop the library further, and also it makes me very aware that the Civic has also, that offer is pending for them, but I think we have to be much more explicit about how the Civic would use that money before that can be released. You know? So having these two close together and in comparison, the reports is quite. Did you have somebody else? I saw another hand go up. No? Yes.
I was just going to add just how much the Humber Library have done their own fundraising and have their own
Yes.
schemes and just have professional people making the plans. And I think it, you know, they have got a very bottomed idea of what they want.
I think that's necessary, isn't
Yeah.
it, to have an effective trustees, brilliant trustees.
And when they move forward to do a step, they do it.
Yes,
You know, insulation, painting, new windows,
it's brilliant.
door, you know, they just keep
Yeah.
ticking them off.
So should we tell, you know, we've noted it, should we respond to this and say, thank you?
You can do.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I would like to propose that we do that.
Okay.
I think, you know, they're using the council's money effectively
Okay.
and benefiting, you know, the whole community tremendously.
Congratulate them on that.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, thank you. Councillor Whitelaw?
I think it's probably worth taking that opportunity to be quite specific about what it is exactly that we've recognised and like and feel builds our relationship and our collective responsibility, if you like, so that it's there as a model of operation, if you like, and you're acknowledging what it is that they've done and how they operate. I think that would be quite helpful.
I agree. Do you think what Councillor Morgan said about how is enough, or do you want to be more explicit in what we write? Okay, Councillor Morgan, would you like to repeat why you think they did such a brilliant job?
I was just saying there were several good things to remark. The amount of fundraising they did for themselves, the list of jobs that they itemised that they would do to make the building more efficient and attractive, they've just ticked them off one by one. They've done them all. And also they're incredibly grateful to the parish council. They talk about it all the time, you know, that the money comes from here and it gets spent well.
And also, I would really like to praise them for how brilliantly they promote what they do. You know, that these posters of what's happening in December and January, what happens in the library. So they're letting people know that it's, you know, there are lots of things that happen. I'm aware of that in the civic. A lot of things do happen, but it's not easy to read it. It's not easy to get that information. When you come into the civic, there's no notice saying Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, what happens on all those different dates. So that recognition, that letting people know that bigger scope. So maybe you can feed that back to the trustees. Yeah.
It's the ways of working thing, really.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Item 79, other VAT-related issues. As reported earlier in this meeting, the rental storage facilities and garages are liable to VAT. And it seems to me quite reasonable that we will owe some in respect of this VAT. Is that right?
Yep.
And so we have to approve the expenditure of that.
Yeah, but as it's written, there's two different ways of treating this. It's whether it's VAT exclusive or VAT inclusive. So VAT inclusive, the money's included on the money that's already been, you know.
And which would you recommend?
Well, I think given that we decided not to raise the rent on garages until the start of the next council term, I think we're kind of stuck really. That we can't put
It's
money on top
inclusive.
of it. I would suggest that we should treat it as inclusive. I'm absolutely, if you want to go the other way, I think that's absolutely fine as well, but I would think that seems most logical.
Councillor Wilson?
Could we go the other way in the new council?
You can go any way you like.
Can I make a note for that? To review.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
This
yeah.
would be a different council, of course, won't it?
Yeah, and then obviously, you know, they're going to have to be aware of what's VAT and what's, you know, it's a whole different ball game, really.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good point.
Do you want to vote on? Do you want to?
We want to vote on saying that for the moment it will be VAT inclusive.
So
And
the amount will be £630.
So we approve expenditure of that. So first of all, do we have to vote to say that we are going to go for VAT inclusive?
We do, really.
Anybody against VAT inclusivity? No?
Okay.
And then consider the expenditure up to the set amount of money owed of unreported VAT are we happy to authorise that?
Lovely, thank you very much.
And then allotments, to note, all rental payments have been received. We've noted it, yes. We have to note that the rental payments of carriages have also been received, yes, we've noted. And we are noting that the outside building has been vacated, and we're awaiting, that's now with service provision, and we are awaiting a decision re the toilet development before any further action is taken. Yes, noted. Internal control check, to note the internal control checks were undertaken on the 25th of November. Thank you to Councillor Green for covering that, thank you. The next internal control checks will be in January, so.
Can't wait.
I'm really looking forward to that.
Exciting proposal. And then we also have to note that although we've got a multi-day credit card, it failed to work.
It failed to work for what we wanted it, it was a bit disappointing. I haven't given it another go. Obviously, you know, with Zoom, they're normally paid by PayPal, and getting PayPal to connect to a slightly weird credit card didn't prove successful. So.
You always scrape the ice off your
Well, let's hope that next time it does work.
Well, as long as it works for something, it'll be useful.
Okay. Right, item 252683, home agricultural houses levelling of general reserves. I think we already talked a little bit about that, but in April and October, reserves were lower than they should be, or that we would like them to be. Do you want to say anything further on that?
I don't think I really need to say a whole lot more. It was just really in the context of budget setting. I just want to make sure that either we've got enough money to do it, or, you know, in the case of what Councillor Wilson is proposing, that we will be just a bit clever about how we announce it to the grant winners, and maybe we should slightly change the, you know, when we pay people. So part of the problem is in April, because we don't get our actual first instalment until May, so you're already 1 month into your year, which seems a bit bizarre really, but and we you know, I deliberately didn't pay it, but obviously we got £40,000 that the Civic gets, so I have to deliberately delay that, even though he might say that they should get it straight away, but I have to delay it until May when we've got the money, otherwise we've got no cash.
Do people generally complain about this, you know, or are people always quite understanding?
I mean, in the case of somebody like the Civic, I mean, whether they get 40,000
At one point rather than another.
it doesn't really matter. I don't get the feeling it troubles them immensely, but it just feels a bit
Bad practice. It's bad practice, isn't it? Councillor Whitelaw and Councillor Wilson first.
What I was going to say now. I've thought for a while that perhaps 25% is a bit tight, given the sort of council that we are and the buildings that we have. I do think though that we could gradually increase the percentage of preset and combine that with perhaps a bit different management of the way we do things. I think we'll probably be alright. I mean, when you look, there are only 2 months of the year that we have a problem.
But they're the months that cause the most problems, that's the trouble.
Yeah. So I think a gradual increase would be.
Okay, because that's in person. Yes.
So, is there a case, Rich, for, and you may have answered this already in that message, for shifting the pattern of grant allocation so that we don't
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's something on the agenda of our grants working group, but it probably would help if we had a look at it, either when the meeting is or when we pay it, or some other way.
Well, can I propose then that we put that onto the agenda of the grants committee for discussion?
Councillor Dale?
And we'll go back to this thing about 25%, in some ways it's just a number, it's just a thing, you know, and it may be just giving you guidance, but I think you can also break it down and say what exactly would be the requirements, you know, if things were, you know, why do we need that contingency, what would it pay for, and obviously things like salaries and etc. and so on, or if things went seriously wrong, you know, sort of, you know, sort of, from the word, but anyway, for staff to finish and so on, redundancies, things like that. You know, that would be the worst case scenario, I guess. But I'm just being a bit more scientific about this, I suppose, and saying what exactly is needed.
What's it for?
25% is just a figure.
Is it just a figure that has been recommended for the size of council now, isn't it? If I understand
Well,
it right.
I mean, the 25% doesn't show that. It only ever talks about 3 months. It
Yes.
talks about 3 months business of the parish council. So in terms, I just calculate on the basis of 25% of the annual budget.
Okay.
So it's obviously a shorthand approach.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's kind of not what Councillor Bailey was saying, which is absolutely correct. But you know, I'd be having to stare at every transaction to make sure whether it was important or not. It's you know, it's very much a shorthand. I'm happy to go with a shorthand.
What is your? Can I ask Councillor Wilson? What is your reason for wanting to increase it? Because it seems to me that it's not money that's just sat there. You know, I mean, it's sat there for good reason, for an emergency, but why build it up more than it needs to be?
I think we have a fair few risks with our Suffolk Council, particularly the buildings we own, the civic, the library, the toilets. The roof falls in the civic, we've got to do something with it. These are risks that are there.
Yeah,
We've also got,
of course.
but you have to do something fairly quickly, wouldn't you? So yeah, I think that's perhaps different to a lot of councils that perhaps don't have those sort of thing hanging over them. It is only guidance at the end of the day, and you know, our experience can dictate what we do, can't it? Our experience at the moment is saying, actually, it's a little bit tight.
But it's, sorry,
Yes.
it's a timing issue, isn't it? It's not that we don't have enough money over 12 months, it's just to do with the timing of it, income and expenditure.
November,
So if you shift
60%.
things around, you do away with the problem.
Yeah, and you know, I don't honestly know. I mean, I haven't asked other parish councils whether they get their money in April. It just seems a bit weird that you get it when you're already 1 month into the year.
Perhaps Kirklees do the same thing.
I'll ask the people who deal with our funding and say why do we get it 1 month into the year and see what they say.
Okay. Any comments further on the general reserves? I think you just included that information when we're looking at the budget.
Yeah, it wasn't really for any for you to do a great deal other than to just consider it in the context of
the budget. Okay. So I guess this is quite a big item on the agenda, is to look at the budget, and there are 2 budget proposals, budget A and budget B. Shall we look at them?
It should be pointed out that you don't need to stick to either of these. You can amend one or the other. You can tweak. You can start afresh. Obviously, option A is just what happens if you keep things going exactly the way as they were before, whilst also giving all the committees what they asked for in terms of the budgets and the earmark reserves. And I've calculated the expenditure this year rather cleverly. I've assumed that we would be paying for the election this year, so that's factored in already. I've assumed that we would pay out all the money we've got in our grants pots, so that may or may not happen. We won't really know that until February, obviously, but I've calculated that it will all be spent. So that's the basis of the carried forward figures anyway.
Do you mind if I just clarify something, Rich? When you say no change, it does mean no change, but actually, in real terms, it means a reduction, doesn't it? Because we've not built in any inflation into this. So the current figures, we're talking about 3.6% reduction.
That's a fair point.
In both the precept and also all the expenditure.
Yeah, and so you know it's this figure here that's kind of it's the extra
51,000.
1,000 in general reserves, which is, Councillor Wilson's made a point that we're hoping that we will have more general reserves. I suppose this is doing it in one go. Councillor Wilson's is adding 7,000 and change, I think. So that's the trade-off. Councillor Wilson's budget is taking £5 off. So every pound essentially is £10,000 that the parish council no longer has. So that's where there's this difference in terms of the amount of general
yes.
reserves. It's
Absolutely.
very much what you collectively value as important things for the electorate.
Okay. Well, that is quite big. Do we want to talk first of all about option A with everybody, or do we want to go and to consider that Councillor Wilson talk
I
about?
think there's a sense in which Councillor Wilson's is because mine is just a carried over thing.
Yes.
It's not a proposal as such. Councillor Wilson's is probably more accurately a proposal.
Okay, so do you want to talk about that, and then we'll have a better comparison and think whether we want to go with one or other or a completely different one. Okay, are we happy with that? Yes. Okay, Councillor Wilson?
Okay. I think most of us are aware that our precept has been raised for the last 2 years. I think something like 12% or 30%. And on the whole, I've got to say I was supportive of that, because I think there were some really particular issues that we had to resolve, and some one-off costs as well. So we had a long-term maintenance plan for the civic, for instance, which we've now established. Costs for future elections, which we sort of got caught out with a little bit. Increased insurance costs, and of course the vision document for the civic. So I think there were good reasons for doing what we've done the last couple of years. I now think we're in a position to propose a reduced precept, and thanks to it for putting option B together. I'll be happy to do it. So what does it do? It maintains all the requested budgets from the committees, so no one's lost anything. It increases the reserves to 31%, so my concept of gradually increasing the reserve to see how we manage it. It reduces the grants budget, but only to a level that we've actually spent. So there's no actual reduction in what we're spending. It results in a £5 reduction in the precept for Band D. So, okay, in cash terms, £5, it's a cup of coffee and perhaps a buttered scone as well. It's not a lot.
In a year.
In a year. But I think it's symbolically, it's quite important. We've had 2 years of rises. We're now in a national position where all our taxes are going up. Kirklees are about to put up the council tax by the full amount of 5%. I think it's significant that we can show that we're doing our very little bit towards actually controlling our spending. So that's why I put the proposal together as it is.
Okay, there's quite a few things I want to say to that, but I'll open it up to other people. First, Councillor Ryder.
Can I just clarify? So what was in this evening is a recommendation, yeah, and then we'll go to the council,
yes.
and there'll be a benefit for all votes. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's right.
Councillor Osborne.
I was wondering if there was any reason in this proposal, any legal reason why we have to stagger the deductions so those at the top end are getting a larger reduction than those at the bottom end. Or does it have to be a certain percentage?
Are you on about the fact that the different bands,
Different
they're
bands,
all worked out mathematically?
Yeah, but does it have to be that way?
Yeah, that's national.
Well, I don't think we can change that.
That's
we have
that's
any
a
control
national.
over that. That's so yes. Okay. Sorry, Councillor Bain, I think you're next.
Is it an error that there's, I think between the two, option A and option B, there's an earmarked reserve for the toilets maintenance, and I think it's actually about the tendering process.
No, that's not an error. Those are three things that Councillor Wilson didn't want included in opposed option B.
Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, what are things?
I don't understand.
I missed that.
My feelings about EMRs, there should be something that we've identified as an actual need, a clear identification. Now, I mean, if it's something that might happen, then that's what reserves are for. And we're just talking about increasing the reserves.
Well, these are reserves, they're earmarked reserves.
Yeah, but general reserves. You consider general reserves if things crop up unexpectedly.
Can I
So if
just
someone falls in the toilet, that's really
So what are the
convenient.
three things? That's passed me by. The toilet maintenance is one. What are the other two things that we're not, if we go for option B, we're not going to have?
The grants reduced to the level of spend historically,
Right, yeah.
So grants reduced by £10,000.
and the general reserves go up to, I think it was 31%.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Well, there's three EMRs where it's been removed between option A and option B. One is the bus shelter roofs, as I understand it. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. but
No,
I think
you're right. Yeah,
The
yeah.
bus shelter roofs.
Yeah.
This came up in service provision because there were, if I remember rightly, 2 bus shelters where it felt, it seems very likely, although we don't know the exact figures, it's very likely that they are going to need to be either repaired or replaced in the next 12 months. Which I think, do you know any more about this, Rich? I don't know, I'm wondering if Alison remembers this. It came up in service provision.
I thought it were about Seagham roofs then.
Well, I think Seagham roofs became part of the possible solutions.
It
But
was,
anyway.
sorry, I'm just interrupting, it was highlighting the fact that both roofs look as if they need repair. One's buckling and one's the headache, one's constantly being patched up.
Yeah, I don't want to go through, I can talk about it, at length if you like, to point is the Hayden's roof, we are actually, it's a false economy at the moment because we keep paying out for John to repair it and we need a longer term solution to it.
Which will cost money.
So there was the bus shelter thing, there was the maintenance contract negotiations, 2 lots of maintenance contract negotiations, which I think Jen is particularly leading on.
Yeah, I mean, the reason that there was that EMR discussed and approved at service provision is I'm very aware that we have committed to going to a tendering process in this financial year, but the actual new contract would kick in the next financial year, and until we've seen those tenders and considered them, we are somewhat acting blind, which is why that EMR was suggested. And I do feel quite jittery about that because it's a new process to me, and I don't want to find that the council's in a position where it's asked for 3 tenders back and then
It was a prudent measure, I think, wasn't it,
Yeah.
to build something in just in case, because it's as you say, it's it's an uncertain
Yes.
sort of
yes.
program.
I just know that Councillor Green had his hand up.
On the bus shop, the roof things, it's kind of indicative of the whole of the council assets. It's like, as responsible owners of these things, do we maintain them before they fall on someone's head?
Absolutely.
Or do we wait till they fall on someone's head and then get money out of general reserve to pay for it? So, I do.
I certainly agree that we should be planning for those things before they form in, which I do think applies to the toilets as well. Councillor Wilson next, and then I'm going to have you, Councillor Davis.
I think generally we have a habit of putting things in EMRs and it's just wishful thinking. And our ability to generate ideas for spending money far outweighs our ability in actually doing it. And so that's the only thing I'm really questioning. Are these genuine worked up projects that we know we need to spend money on, or are they just things that, let's put it there just in case?
Well, I think we know
Because
we
when
need
we
to
put
spend
it
money.
there in case, we're asking the people of the Home Valley to fund that. We're asking them for the money, and we don't know what we're spending it on.
Okay, well, I think we do know what we've
If
got.
we do, that's fine.
Yeah, but I'll let other people speak. Oh, I think it was Councillor Davies next.
My return we can access the general reserves whenever. So it doesn't matter if, I mean it does matter if the roof's falling on somebody's head, obviously. But surely if there's one that needs dire repair, we can get money out of general reserves. So if we were to go for option B and give something back to the community, they'd be happy. But the money's still in the general reserves because that's going up anyway to 32%, did you say? 31, sorry. So if the money's going up in general reserves, what does it matter if it's coming out of the other things if the money's still there? Or we're giving something back to the electorate?
You're giving something back to the electorate, you're giving them back less than 10p a week.
Yeah, but it's showing that we are working with them. We know it's hard out there. I got my tax code the other day, I'm getting absolutely screwed on tax.
And you wouldn't, that might be true, but would you honestly notice 10p a week?
But it's
When
symbolic
we
to do
talk about
something back.
percentages, it sounds like a good increase or decrease, but when you talk about the reality, 10p, less than 10p a week equates to £10,000 that we could usefully use on the benefit of the community, either repairing the toilets or more grants, or, you know, all the grants. There's a lot we could do with £10,000, so anyway. Councillor Blackett. Oh, sorry. Do next. I'll come to you next.
Councillor Blackett, which is in front.
Just seek clarification really from Andy about the 10,000 less on grants, and what you said, I think, is that it represents what's actually been spent on. Can you just kind of flesh out what you meant and how you arrived at that?
I believe the last 2 years we've underspent our grants budget. So all I'm saying is let's reduce it to what we know we spend, rather than asking people to fund something that we don't spend.
I think Rich has just said that this year you're assuming that grant budget will be spent, and I would like to see it fully spent, because I think there are usually
kind of two different points. So I assume it's spent because that gives us more. You know, we'll be less vulnerable in terms of budget setting because we'll have the most extreme idea of our expenditure this year, so we'll be able to plan better in that sense.
Okay.
It's not really my place to say whether that will actually happen.
History suggests it won't.
Okay. Okay. Was it Councillor Rostron? No.
I was just going to say, if we've got to talk about symbolism, it's still symbolic not to change it.
Yes.
Others are increasing theirs, we're not.
Yes.
It's something symbolic in that too.
Well, I feel that. I feel that's amazing to say that we are keeping. You know, it's a very positive thing to say that we're keeping the budget the same, and yet we're delivering, if anything, more than we used to deliver. So that's a positive thing. You know, more positive. You know, I think. Saying that you're decreasing it sort of reflects that you're decreasing what you're going to do as well. And I want us to be, you know, we did say we wanted to be an ambitious council that was going to do things for the community. Councillor Whitehead.
There's a number of things I'd like to say. One is that we're very interested in the principles of why we do what we do. For me, it's absolutely about the collective amounts of money that come across this large number of people in the Home Valley. Those 10p's a week add up to a lot of money, which we can use for the benefit of the whole community. You know, if you were asking people to do that themselves, it would take hundreds of years to add that all up to be the 10 grand back. So for me, it's absolutely about a principle which is about collective contribution. I think that's the first thing. The second thing is that so far, while I've been a member here, we haven't really been terribly proactive in drawing in money from elsewhere, looking for funds from elsewhere. And that's something that we have the capacity to do. And if I'm right, Jen, more of that capacity now because of the way in which you are able to support us. Have I understood that correctly?
You're going to have to put some flesh on that for me to understand it.
I think it's general housing competence.
Yes. Oh yes, right, yes, okay.
Yeah.
It certainly gives you more powers, definitely.
Councillor Wilson?
One of the reasons that we're able to either reduce or maintain that budget is because last time we had several one-off costs that aren't in this year.
But there are some one-off costs that would
And
be
we won't have that
desirable.
next year.
We won't have any one-off costs. I mean, the toilets could be a one-off cost. The civic could be a one-off cost. You know, there are things that we would like to be able to do.
What's in the civic?
I want to ask that thrown in. Why would civic be a one-off cost?
Well, if we are going to refurbish the civic, you know, if we are going to move forward with a vision for the civic, there is going to be some more expenditure. I absolutely know that we will have to be, as Councillor Whitelaw says, be looking at other funding as well. But we do want to be making progress with a full refurbishment of the civic. No? You don't think so?
You confuse me, that's all, because that's already written into the lease and everything around.
Where did the emergency lighting costs come from?
Sorry?
Yeah, where the emergency light, the unexpected emergency lighting bill, where did that come? How was that paid? Wasn't that a one-off?
Came partly out of the grant for the refurbishment of the lobby.
And partly.
Well, I think it all came from that.
I think
didn't
it all came from that.
Refurbishment of the lobby.
Because we didn't
Change, yeah.
we didn't need to do as much on the lobby as
Yeah.
originally thought.
Okay, Councillor
I
Morgan.
just want to add though that that money for the refurbishment of the lobby is empty now because we had 2 payments out of there.
It's not completely empty if you look at the accounts that they sent in this time. There is still
there
the...
is a bit left, but
Yeah,
you know what I
it's
mean?
much
It's just
depleted, that's
Yeah.
true, yeah. But there have been quite a lot of unexpected things that we don't always plan for, you know, so we didn't plan for that emergency lighting. Councillor Osborne?
Well, I'm just looking at the previous item, where we were
Yes.
talking about our reserves getting below that required 25%, which they've been doing regularly
Yeah.
over the last couple of years. I think when that's happening, that's not the time to start messing around with the preset and quite possibly increasing the risk of it happening again. I think if we were in a situation where we noticed that over the last few years our reserves have been consistently well above that minimum, that would then suggest that maybe there is the headroom for a reduction. But I don't think the headroom is there now.
Okay, I agree. Is there any further comments on this? I mean, we could vote for option A, we could vote for option B, or we could propose something else. Does anybody have any other ideas about what they would like to propose? I think Councillor Bale did suggest a rise in line with inflation so that it's not a cut, but
No, I wasn't
whether you want to
suggesting that.
pursue
I was pointing out, no, I wasn't arguing that. I was pointing out that actually, when this is presented as being unchanged, it actually represents a cut
yes,
in real terms.
yeah, it does.
And I'm not arguing against
It
having
does,
that
yeah.
cut.
And that does suggest that we've got to have a tighter control over our expenditure, but I think which ensures that we do that.
Yes.
So, any further comments before we take a vote on option A or option B? Any proposal for any alternative? No, nobody's coming up with an alternative. Okay.
Can I ask for a recorded vote on this, please?
Yes, can we have a recorded vote, please?
We've got a format ready.
Those in favour of option A, which proposes keeping the preset the same and expenditure similar.
Can I just make the point that the preset probably won't stay the same.
Okay,
You're
right.
probably better off
That's
put
in
it
the
in,
budget.
put it in the context of the budget.
The budget.
The budget amount.
So the budget
Yeah.
will stay the same, the pots in the different
Yeah.
budgets will stay the same, okay? Those in favour of option A?
Right, if you could keep your hands up, please. So I've got Councillor Bailey, Councillor Walker, Councillor Green, Councillor
That's true.
Rostron, yeah. Councillor Morgan, Councillor Osborne, Councillor Reiner, Councillor Stewart, Councillor Whitelaw, and Councillor Holmes. All four. Have I missed anyone there? I've not said someone who was voting for. So against.
And those for option, oh, do you do?
Yeah, let's
Do you
do
do
it's a
against?
recorded, it's a recorded vote, so we'll do the against
Okay,
as well.
those against option A?
Councillor Bellamy, Councillor Davis, Councillor Wilson.
And then do we have to do votes for and against option B?
Were there any abstentions? Where were there?
No.
Option is carried.
Option A is carried, so we don't need to vote for option B. Okay, so I hope that we're all happy with that. Right, yes, Councillor.
I've just got a question on procedure. What is the difference of a recorded vote? And is that for those who vote for what is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
The
Okay,
names have to go in the minutes.
fine, yeah.
Right, consider approving the draft budget, so we're going to recommend that to full council, so I hope everybody's reasonably happy with that. There's not a massive difference, so, you know, I hope Councillor Bellamy and those who voted against will feel relatively appeased by it. Right.
No. Well, I'll allow my opinion. I don't pay for research, so.
Exactly, those who don't, you know, it doesn't affect us.
And all my family do.
Okay.
Yeah.
85, prioritising climate action, to consider ways in which the Paris Council, have we kept this in mind all the time? Well, I think we've kept it in mind by not reducing our budget, the heat pump to the Harriers. Anything else that's been particularly
Solar panels and
Talk about how we protected the budget for grants
For
and
grants,
how important that is
yes,
for the people of the valley.
as climate action, or is
Oh, sorry.
the next item is publicising the work of the Hull Valley?
Sorry.
I certainly would agree that I think it's worth publicising that we have protected I do think community grants, giving community grants is such an important thing that we do.
We don't actually make that decision though till full council.
We don't?
So,
No, we can't say that.
so you can't say that. Well, my opinion, you can't.
Okay, so,
Well, we can say we've recommended.
yes,
Yeah, which
Yeah.
is different.
okay. And you could say that you voted against it.
More than happy to say.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, and publicising the work of the Hull Valley, I mean, I do think those evaluations that we got earlier on in the agenda, I think they were excellent projects, and I would like them to be publicised widely. And is that the last item on the agenda? And we finished at 8:20. Wow!
Just on those, I mean, is anyone planning on visiting any of these? Because I think it's really useful to go to.
I would agree, the ones, which ones, Fulford Music Festival we can add in visit that.
I did go to that.
Yeah,
I went to that. I went to Just Hoop today as well, actually.
Oh, really good.
Yeah, just to check out what's going on and have a chat with them about how important the grants do. Yeah, really impressed.
Good, great. Cartworth Moor, anybody who's Cartworth Moor, who looks after Cartworth Moor? Whose ward is Cartworth Moor? Yours. So would you like to visit the people?
Yeah.
Do you want to make contact with them? Yeah, that'd be great. area would it be in technically?
In Honley.
Does anybody from Honley
Yeah.
want to go?
It's not in my law.
No.
I think it could be Brockles.
Is it I'll go with Andy.
Okay, the two of you can go together.
And if you're doing anything, make sure you take photographs, not just of, because you took photographs of the place when you wanted just food, but photographs of yourselves.
I'm quite good at the selfie,
Yeah,
I think you're alright. I've got things to do it on.
Well, I think that is important to let us know that what the parish council does is a way of.
Yeah, and what parish councillors do, you know, make sure that you're in the photo too.
Okay, any items for consideration before we close the meeting?
Right, we can't do that.
I can't do that. Can't do that. Okay. I do just close the meeting and say thank you for making my first time chairing a meeting very relatively easy. So.